these sheets and just put a check by what it is that you do not have in your plan, and then we'll make sure that you get it. If you have everything, then you can use it. All right, I'll catch Mr. Ranger up when he returns. All right, on page 5, if you look at your emergency response team members and assignments and the crisis response team, just kind of skim through that, you can see who that is, the different radio means of communication and things of that nature. Our reunification site, in case something happens and we get all scattered for some reason, our reunification site is either the rec center or Elder Middle School. In case something happens and everybody gets scattered around or whatever. Anything with the media, Dr. Hinton will handle all media. If the media comes to me, I'll just tell them to see Dr. Hinton, she'll handle all media. On page 7 is the quick reference phone numbers. Just the phone numbers of the different agencies. On page 8, the fire procedures. Of course, once we get the maps, you all know what exit, but at this time, hopefully we'll get the maps done in the next couple of days, and then you'll know where to exit the building. When you exit the building with your students, make sure you have your grade book with you, and you have your green, red, and yellow cards with you. When you get your students out, away from the building, please take attendance, and we'll walk around. If everything is good, you just hold up your green card. If you have an issue, with yellow or red. Make sure you please line your students up. Make sure you have your students and account for your students. Don't let them be over in another, with another group. Because if this thing is for real, y'all know accountability is very important. So we can make sure that we identify all students. If for some reason a student is out of your class, when the bell rings, then once we identify your area, then that student is to just go to, your area. But that's all part of our once we do our practices and things, the students will be told that. Then we'll just remain out until the all clear is given, and then the bell rings, then we'll reoccupy the building. But as far as teachers are concerned, you all will know when we're going to do a fire drill. Just please make sure you grab your grade book and your cards. The first thing you do once you get your students out there is check your attendance and identify if any students are missing. And then we'll come around and you flash the card. Tornado, severe weather, hurricane, page 9. Basically, we'll assume the tuck and cover position until the all clear is given. And we'll practice these things as well. Response to mass fatalities. Basically, if that happens, this place will be turned over to the law enforcement and the emergency management. We'll get all of our instructions from them. Natural disasters, same thing, earthquakes and things of that nature. We'll assume the position, and then once everything is over, everything will be turned over to the emergency management people and for accountability and things of that nature. Same thing with any type of natural disasters, flooding, etc. 13 is bomb threat. Bomb threats, first thing you need to do if you get a bomb threat is survey your room and see if you see any suspicious packages before you evacuate. And then once we evacuate, you remember a suspicious package in your room, then when the authorities come, that's where we'll send the authorities. They used to tell us not, when they were doing all the active shooting and stuff was going around, they stopped evacuating. And then until a suspicious package was found, and then they evacuate the school. But now, according to this, they're going back to the evacuation and then looking for the suspicious package. And again, we will evacuate at least 1,000 feet away from the school, and that's towards the baseball field, football practice field, at least 1,000 feet away. And then, of course, the clerical staff have the things that they need to do as far as if we get a phone call, things they need to do with the phone calls. Now that we have phones in our rooms, if for some reason a phone call gets through to your room, the first thing you dial before the next incoming call, you dial star 57, and that will put a trace on it. You hang up, then you dial star 69 before the next incoming call, and then you hang up, and then you report it to us, and we'll notify 911. And so in case it comes to your room, just remember 57, star 57, and star 69. Then we have a bomb threat checklist. In our experiences, when someone calls in a bomb threat, they just hang up. And this is saying if they will answer questions, then let them try to get as much information out of them as you can. Explosions, anytime an explosion comes, we evacuate, and then it will be turned over to the authorities and the emergency management system. That's a bomb explosion or some other type of explosion. Intruders, and 17. Now we have the most of the rooms have the where you just turn the little switch, the little handle to lock your room. We'll go with the intercom, and we won't try to disguise. We'll just say the intruders in the building, lock it down. We won't try to yell Frankenstein, fire engine, or anything like that. We'll just tell you what it is. That way you're not trying to guess it. We'll just say it's an intruder, lock it down. And you just simply go and lock your doors, get the students away from the doors, get them down, and ask them to be quiet. And we will practice that as well. Possession of a weapon. Of course, we have our resource officers. We'll turn that over to the administration. We'll turn that over to the authorities. Accident, serious injury, or illness, this all depends to the level of what it is, whether we'll handle it in-house, call 911, or just call a parent. It just depends on. But you all do a good job. If you got an accident or something that occurs in your room, just notify the administration. Death of a staff member or student, of course, that immediately is turned over to the administration, and we will follow the proper steps to take care of that. Suicide at school, thing you want to do is evacuate the area immediately. If y'all remember on the news, I guess last week, a man went on the campus of elementary school, and the kids were going to the playground and hung himself. I guess was it May? Warner Robbins, yeah. Man, that was a couple of weeks ago. He did it. So we'll call for a lockdown if necessary. Just depends on, we'll evacuate the area and then call for a lockdown and then get the proper authorities involved. Bus accident, that's pretty much to the bus shop on page 22. Unless it happens somewhere out here, but us, the administration will handle that. See the transportation department contact numbers. Hazardous materials or nuclear emergencies, we'll get all of our direction and instruction from the emergency management and the authorities that handle those kind of things. That's where we'll take all of our instruction from. Student disruptions and civil disturbances, we'll just follow our code of conduct on that, and then we'll handle that based on our code of conduct. Hopefully we won't have any civil disturbances. Student runaway or abductions. Y'all did a real good job. Just the other day, we had some students that were gone away from class for a long period of time. The teachers recognized it, informed our assistant instructor that was in the hallway, he informed the resource officer and the administration, and we located those students. So that was handled properly. Once the teachers realized, hey, wait a minute, that's been gone for a while, and then they reported it. The ladies up front understand that when people come to pick up, they have certain documentation that people must have, certain sheets that the people must be on, and we require all identification before we release it, release the student. Utility emergency, we just turn that over to the board officer, to Mr. Williams, and then we follow whatever instructions we get from them. If it's a gas line, a water main, or some kind of break, then of course we evacuate that area and just wait for further instructions. Security issues in the school safety zone, of course we will handle all that. Direction will come from us or law enforcement. 29, protocol for emergencies and drills. We will do our drills like we do every year. Like I said, I will do out to you all as far as the maps and where you go, but we will do all of our drills. Once Ms. Hart is in charge of keeping us on track with our drills, and then after we do the drills, they go into a state database. She has to type in information, and it goes up to a state database showing that we've done these drills. Of course, the evacuation protocol is just like we do fire drills. Make sure you have the proper documentation. Make sure you're 1,000 feet away from the building. Make sure that you take attendance of your students, and make sure you have your cards. And if there's any issues, then we'll go that. Same thing with the lockdown protocol. You have your cards. If there's an issue, you slide the card. If there's a green card or no card, we figure everything is okay. But the key to the lockdown is make sure those students are quiet. When we do have an evacuation, the front office is responsible for the emergency evacuation kit. It's the checklist here on page 33. And they also responsible for the student records. We have a hard copy of all student records on the carts and the notebooks. So if we do have a failure of electricity, or we lose our computers, or we have to evacuate the building, we have all that stuff on hard copy. All right, then you just see the required drills and how many times we're required to do it, and where we're going to have the different drills in what month. So we got to do a tornado, an intruder, and you see in August, we got 2 that we have to try to get done. If not, they give us a little flexibility as long as we get the proper number of them done. All right, any questions by emergency? All right, any questions, period, about anything? All right, if you haven't signed in, here's the sign-in sheet. Make sure you sign the sign-in sheet. Audrey, you have anything?
No, sir.
Yeah, we do all time next Wednesday, it's scheduled for available, but I don't know if that's go.
It was the Wednesday after Labor Day?
Wednesday after Labor Day.
So we are scheduled.
Yes.
Run together.
Yeah.
All right. If no questions, thank you for your time.